EECMS, your virtual employment equity compliance management service.
Good morning, everyone. Again, from our side, my name is Peter from EECMS, a company dealing in employment equity and ensuring that all our clients attending here today are in total and full EE compliance. Okay, so in the house, we also have Elena from EECMS, a senior consultant, as well as Barry that will facilitate this session. We also have the head of our developing team, Dewald, so he will come in pertaining to certain things that we would just like to discuss if some of your employees have been red flagged due to the reason maybe not inputting the information correctly. Okay, so again, from our side, from our virtual studios here in Pretoria East, a very, very warm welcome to everyone. Feel free, we can do an interactive session. So in other words, Barry is going to share the screen. The purpose of this meeting here today is to show a new module that has been released. Okay, the servers currently is under maintenance, guys, so you might find today it's still running a little bit slow. However, that will be everything fixed, done and dusted, I do believe, by the latest next week, Monday. Okay, so purpose of this meeting, we're going to discuss the new module. We're going to indicate how you need to add your remuneration between fixed and variable of all your employees. Okay, so the past couple of months, we sat and we made certain decisions. Okay, reason being is if you have to update your fixed remuneration, it needs to be done on a monthly basis to get it annualized. And we therefore made a decision to say, you know what, one of our clients, as an example, employed just over 12,000 people. And you can just imagine how cumbersome the process will be if you need to add fixed and variable remuneration for each and every one of those 12,000 employees on a monthly basis. Okay, so the decision was made, no. Each and every year we will unlock your EEA4 report and you will be able to input and update the fixed and variable remuneration of each and every employee from top management to unskilled, but only once per annum. Okay, so that's literally just to save some productivity and timing constraints to ensure that the process is less cumbersome. Barry, I'm going to hand over to you. Barry will explain some of the changes. Here and there I will pop in. If you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself, raise your query. Okay.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so the major changes are not on every single module, but on certain modules. I want to be starting with the employees tab. We've done some changes here. Okay, so some of the biggest changes you'll see is that when we export to Excel, in the past it only exported 4 or 5 of the fields, but now you can actually export all the data that was inputted into the system. So I'm going to quickly do the export in Excel, and I'll show you an example of what I'm talking about. So just give it a second. Okay, so as you can see in the past, it used to only export about 4 or 5 fields. Now you can literally see how many fields it is now exporting to Excel. It also lets you filter the actual columns as well, so you can actually filter out any of the data that you wish to do as well. Okay, then another very nice feature that we brought in as well is the column visibility. So what this does is anything that's in green is what you can currently view on the actual system. But if you decide you don't want to see this, you don't want to see that, you want to remove that, you want to take out temporary employees, roles and responsibilities, you can remove whatever you want, and it literally will remove those physical columns from your view. And you can export this as is as well. So if you only want to export certain columns as well, you can remove any of the columns. Just as you can see, I'm literally taking out whatever I don't want to see. And as you can see, it only shows those physical columns that you want to physically view as well. And you can just as easily put them back in again by clicking back on them as well. I'm just going to quickly put them all back again. Okay. What we also had, we had a couple of inquiries where some of our clients said, but we don't use the name first, we use surname first, whatever the case may be. So we decided to make all these columns here editable. So you can literally drag and drop any of the columns into any order that you would like. So for example, if you use Surname first in your company, you can literally just drag and drop Surname and it will now be first. If you want to see ID number after Surname, for example, as well, you can do the same there. You can literally move job title to wherever you would like to put it as well. So literally you can order this in any order that you'd like to make it easier for you, and you can also export it in that order as well. So yeah, that was just a request from some of our clients that wanted that, so we decided to implement that as well. So just to make it a bit easier for you, because some of the, as I say, some of the companies utilize these columns in a different order. So we just decided to make all of them editable, so you can literally move them around as you need as well. Then the next major change as well was on the EE committee side as well. In the past, on the EE committee, you had to scroll down through all the occupational levels and races and genders to go and to physically go and look for somebody or edit your committee. We're going to show you now what we've decided to do now. It's actually a lot more user-friendly than what it was. Just give it a second to open.
Please bear in mind, your company will most probably already have an assigned EE committee that's 100% in total and full compliance. What Barry is going to show you now, just as an example, Adelaide, African female, should Adelaide maybe leave your committee or maybe resign out of your company, that by default will then mean that you need to replace another African female representing African females. Okay, so Barry, you can show them then how those filtering works.
No problem. Okay, so what I've done now is I've removed Adelaide. So you'll see now just below here, there are the nominees. So in the past, there were pages and pages and pages you had to scroll through, but now you just need to go to the drop-down box here. You go to the options you want, you click on the African female tab. Give it a second to update.
You clicked on African male.
Oh, sorry, African female. There we go. And now you only have the column, you only have the actual African female section here now. So you don't have to scroll through all the pages and pages of other categories. You're now literally just working on the one that you want to. So I'm going to assign Alex to the committee. Give it a second for it to update. And there you go. There she, oh no, Robin. Is it?
No, you by accident went on African males, but it's not the end of the
okay,
book.
there we go.
I mean,
now it's changed. No, there we
yes.
go. It's changed. Yeah, we get the drift. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So as you can see, literally every single category here is separate. You don't have to go through all the categories now. You physically select the one that you want to work on, and it will change over, and you can assign the person that you want to your committee. Okay. All right. Then the next updates we did was you'll notice now when you log into your profile that you now have two tabs here. One is the EEA2 reporting inputs. The other one is the EEA4 reporting inputs. We've decided to split them. It also makes it a lot easier as well. And you will see once you go into this physical tab here. This is for obviously when we generate your reports for reporting purposes. So obviously when we do the Q4 meeting, we will be doing the EEA2 reporting inputs with you and generating your EEA2 report as well as the EEA4 report. So obviously during the Q4 meeting, we need to split, obviously the first half an hour would be with your committee discussing the EEA2, and then the second 30 minutes is going to be with the obviously the EE manager or the managers which have got access to remuneration. So we'll discuss then the EEA4, and once that's been discussed and generated, you'll obviously need to get your CEO to sign those off. You need to scan those signed documents, send them back to us so we can do your submissions for you. Okay, so as you can see in the EEA2 reporting here, we have the different sections that we go through to generate your reports. Obviously, the first one is your reporting barriers. We would go through, we could confirm that your barriers are correct. If they are correct, we would lock them and then save them. Then your annual objectives. So obviously, the system monitors your objectives to see if you've actually achieved them through your reporting period. If you have achieved them, you will see a little blue tick here in the box. If that specific occupational level was not achieved, it would not be ticked here, and then it gives you a reason for not achieving. So we would obviously discuss this with you, and we would put in a reason for not achieving. For example, COVID-19 pandemic, we had to retrench people, or we could not recruit in that level due to the COVID-19 pandemic, or due to financial constraints, we did not expand on that level, for example. Once we've gone past that section as well, you will click lock reporting on annual objectives, save annual objectives, and move on to the next section here. So that's consultation is the next section. Yeah, obviously you would it is whoever you obviously have in your your quarterly meetings. So your employment equity forum, your employees. If you have a registered trade union representative in your committee meetings as well, you would also select that. Then you would lock that, save reporting consultation. Monitoring and implementation, obviously the minimum requirements is quarterly, so we would normally select quarterly here, lock and save, and then this would generate your EA2 in your documents tab.
You can maybe open the EA2,
yes.
just before we go there, open the EA2, because I just want to discuss, remember, ladies and gents, colleagues, we will facilitate this process on your behalf. Of course, you will log on to your portal. It won't be a generic meeting with all our clients in one meeting. It will be a meeting with your company only. Okay, then what are we going to do? Once we went through those tick and bashes and the discussions, we're going to save your EA2 and we're going to lock everything. Then we're going to sit with your committee. That's still in the first half an hour of the meeting. Then we're going to start and say, guys, do you agree on this? Because by law, we have to go through your EA2 before we can submit. So when Barry scrolls down, we're going to sit with the committee and say, do you agree the company information? Okay, yes, thank you very much. We agree. When we scroll down, you will have your workforce profile. So we'll say, guys, this is your plan date, this is your snapshot date, there's your profile, 1,317 employees, being two, let's say, assume people on top management, do you agree? And how so many on senior management, do you agree? Yes, we agree, we agree. Because once everyone is in agreement, we will be able to print the document, not we, you on your side, save it onto your intranet, your Dropbox, or wherever on your server, get it signed off by the accounting officer and or CI, mail the entire document, the entire EA2 and the entire EA4 to us, the one that's signed, all pages. Remember, we do not, due to popular legislation, have access to your portfolio. Then we will say disabled people, yes or no, movements. How many people did you recruit? How many did you promote? How many did you terminate? EE committee, are you happy? Are you seeing your yes, ECMS, thank you very much, be happy. Skills development, how many people actually received training for possible promotional purposes within the duration of your plan? We will discuss that. Thank you very much. We all agree. Then numerical goals and targets. Currently, that's into your online portal. It's things that were discussed in the past. We cannot change it, except if your current E-plan is expiring and or when your company is under a DG review. So we literally just go through the figures, numerical goals, numerical targets. EE committee, are you happy and satisfied? Yes, thank you, we are. Then we go down, monitoring and evaluation. We consulted with the committee, yes. There's a shop steward in the committee, so yes, we consulted, and employees, yes. Your barriers will pull through. Committee, everyone happy with all the barriers? Yes, ECMS, thank you, we are. How regular do you monitor and evaluate the implementation of this plan? At least quarterly, thank you very much. And did you achieve your objectives, yes or no? If not, the reasons will pull through to be signed off by the CEO. I will, within this week still and or early next week, I did prepare all the meeting minutes, all the registers, all the agendas, everything. All of you will get that email. It's generic. Please open and go through the instructions. Open your meeting minutes, input your company name and the date of the meeting, the time, etc. And then we will say, thank you very much, EE committee. You can now depart. Then we sit the last 30 minutes. We will then have to sit with your main user. In other words, the person that has access to remuneration. Remember, your secondary user will not be able to update EE4 reporting inputs. It will not appear anywhere on their profiles. However, the main user will then need to click on EA4 reporting inputs, and that is the last half an hour of the meeting. Barry, you can then proceed on the EA4.
Perfect, thank you very much. Okay, so the EA4 reporting inputs. This is where we've done quite a bit of changes on this physical section here. This is where you would update your remuneration once per annum, best before submission time. Let's give it a second to open.
Please bear in mind, I've received numerous requests the past couple of days of companies saying, yeah, but what is my snapshot date? And how do I need to do the remuneration from when to when? I don't know what my snapshot date. What Barry is going to show you here, colleagues, is let's assume demo company, the snapshot is end of September. When you update the remuneration, it will literally ask you from this date to that date, because your snapshot might be 30th of June every year, meaning that you will then need to give the fixed and variable from 1 July last year to 30th of June this year. But please, you don't need to contact me. Don't contact us to say, but what date to what date. When you update the remuneration, Barry's going to show you just now, it will actually request and ask and say and stipulate from this date to that date, annualized. And even that being said, you will see when you log on to the EEA4 reporting inputs, it will ask and prompt you here, what is deemed fixed remuneration and what is deemed variable. Colleagues, it's imperative to note, it needs to be annualized. Let's assume your employee, let's say our snapshot date is 30th of September in demo company, and I started in this company the 1st of April 2020, resulting in me being employed here from April, May, June, July, August, September. It gives you 6 months. We will then need to annualize my fixed and variable as if I was employed the entire 12 months. Because when it comes to remuneration, the department wants to see whether there's maybe discrimination within either your vertical gap and or your horizontal gap. And the only way that they can do that verification is if they compare apples with apples and pears with pears. In other words, if an employee, again, let's assume worked there for 3 months, we're even giving you an example there, earning 30,000 for that 3 months, let's say fixed, and 30,000 variable, you will say it is 30,000 divided by 3 multiplied by 12, equaling an annualized figure of 120,000 fixed and 120,000 variable. What is fixed and what is variable? When Barry scrolled down a little bit, there's the explanation exactly of what is deemed fixed and what is deemed variable. Fixed would be your salaries, wages, housing, accommodation, subsidy, medical aid funds, pension, provident funds, etc., etc. Variable remuneration would typically be things like referral commissions, lump sums in respect of ongoing employment, back pay, leave pay upon termination, retention bonuses, etc. Overtime also deemed variable. Okay, so Barry, you can then proceed from here to show how do we update this remuneration.
Perfect, thank you, Peter. Okay, so you'll see now one of the most noticeable differences on this tab here is obviously where you can update your remuneration. You'll also notice that there's a red line here, a green line, and a white line. So green lines, wherever there you see a green line across the employee's name, that means his remuneration has been updated. The white line means that he still need to be updated. And if you get a red, if you do an update on your, you get a red line there, that means that there's a problem with that specific employee. So what will need to happen there is after you've updated your remuneration on every single employee and you see that you've got a couple of red lines, you need to export the sheet. And please email it to me or Peter, and we will escalate this through to our development team. They will need to rectify the dates in the back end. This won't happen to everybody, but there are certain companies where there might be some date issues, and you'll just need to export an entire sheet and just mail us the Excel spreadsheet so that we can escalate it through to the development team so they can rectify those dates and fix those employees before we submit or generate your EEA2 and EEA4 documents. Okay, so you'll notice as well.
Just before we get there, maybe go to Mabinane, go to the right and update remuneration. I want the delegates to see what you are talking about. So you go to the top again, you see that one is marked in red, update remuneration and input, yeah, update. Okay, immediately colleagues, you will see an error has occurred updating this employee. Make use of the Excel list exporter and send this list to your consultant so it can be rectified. Okay, so the online portal will actually show you somewhere, something initially that was inputted, I'm talking about before last year for that matter, went wrong pertaining to dates. Okay, Brian, then you can update, let's say, one indicating green, maybe somewhere the person marked in white there. Just check the name, the surname, and then we'll go back to show that it's actually in the employee's file as well. What you will notice here then as well is that this is where it will actually show you from what date to what date. You see that the total 12-month or annualized remuneration from 1 October 2019 to 30th of September 2020.
And you'll have noticed as well on the one with the error, the dates, the actual dates were completely wrong here when you actually open up their profile. So that's where the problem comes in. It doesn't have the exact snapshot date, which is why it needs to be rectified. Okay, so once you update the annualized remuneration of both fixed and variable, you will click update, and you'll see now he has gone green, so which means it's been successfully updated. And I'm quickly going to show you now. Let's give it a second. I'm going to go into the employees tab. I'm going to search for Abraham. Here he is here. And you'll see, I'll click on details, and you'll see the most recent remuneration update is now also on the profile of the employee as well. And this is the remuneration update I literally just did now as well on the employee.
Can I just ask a question? It's Lee. So the snapshot date that you pick, or that 12-month period snapshot on the date that you're going to fill it in, must always be the same. You can't sort of do update it in September this year and then at the end of September, say, and then the beginning of October the following year. Does it always have to be exactly the same date, or is it just the same period?
Your snapshot date is exactly the same every year. It's basically your reporting period. Your reporting period will never change. It's always exactly the same. So your company might, for example, your snapshot date might be 30 September every single year. So what will happen is then obviously for that 12-month preceding period is what the reporting is going to be sent into the Department of Employment and Labour for. So your snapshot date will never change. So basically what happens is these two tabs here will always be locked down until your snapshot date is reached. So so let's say, for example, your company's snapshot date was 30 September 2020. On the 1st of October, every year, these two tabs become active again. So we can generate your EEA2 and EEA4, and that's when you update your remuneration for the preceding period or the last 12 months. So the snapshot date never changes. It always stays the same.
The reason, Lee, thanks,
does that make sense?
But the reason for that is the department wants to see your movements from 1 year to the next, 1 year to the next, 1 year to the next. So each and every year, your EEA2 needs to consolidate with your previous report. So they want to see, if you say you have 100 people, or last year, September had 100, now you have 120. It means a growth of 20 people. Now, we can all agree on that. However, it could have been a growth of 30 employees and a termination of 10, resulting in 120 from September last year to September this year. For the department to see whether you are actually just thumb-sucking information or whether you are literally looking at your previous report before you submit this year's report. Again, on this sheet, you will be able, if Barry scroll up a little bit, again, you can drag and drop the various headings how you'd like. You can again go to column visibility and say, now I just want to see name and surname and whatsoever the case may be. Okay, so again, there's nothing pertaining to employment equity. It's just to easy your life on your side. Okay. Thank you, Barry. You can proceed.
Perfect. Thanks, Peter. Okay, so once you've updated the remuneration, then we'll obviously schedule the quarter four meeting with you. And this is now the section on the EEA4 that we need to submit. So the first section here is reasons for income differential. So as of last year's submissions, you used to be able to select multiple reasons for income differentials. As of last year's submissions, they only allow you to do one. So we normally recommend that you select performance, quantity, or quality of work. The reason being is that is the most difficult to disprove in court for income disparities. Yes, once you selected that, click locked income differentials, save income differentials. Then vertical gap analysis. As of last year's submissions as well, the Department of Employment and Labour said that you have to have a vertical gap policy in place. With the EE master system, as soon as we generate your EEA2 and EEA4, the system will also generate a new vertical gap policy for you every year as well, as soon as we've generated these documents. So with these 3 tabs here, you have to select all 3 tabs, lock and save. Once we've done that, you are able to preview both the EEA2, the EEA4, as well as your new vertical gap policy as well. Once this is where we discuss these documents. Once we discuss both these documents, we will lock the reporting inputs here. And once we've locked these reporting inputs, they will generate in your documents tab where you are able to either save them as PDF or print them out for signing purposes for the CEO. I'm going to quickly just open up the document here, just so you can see it previews in PDF.
And then remember one thing, this is not to be discussed with your EE committee. The EEA4 is not to be placed in your file or anything of that sort. Okay. Barry, I think you opened the EEA2 here.
EEA2, yeah, you're right.
So if you can just open the EEA4. Again, the EEA4 will then be run through with your main user, after which you will discuss that with your CO and get it signed off, and then scan and email it to us. Again, remember, ladies and gents, the only homework that you will have as of today going forward, we will not schedule a meeting before the 1st of November, so we want to allow you at least a week or so to update your remuneration. Please, you have to update your remuneration and ensure everything is green before we can have the meeting. Okay, otherwise it's going to be a futile exercise. You can imagine if we log in and you have multiple red or you didn't complete each and every employee's 12-month remuneration, we literally will need to say, you know what, then the meeting cannot proceed. Okay, so please, there you can maybe just click on documents and open the EEA4. Remember, I think we will need to open the previous EEA4 because in the demo company, I have not locked everything as yet. So we'll do the previous EEA4 just as an example purpose for this meeting.
No problem. Okay, there you go. So this is the EEA4, and this is in the correct format, obviously as per the Department of Employment and Labour. It has all the sections required in here. And as you can see as well, I know before last year's submissions, you had to do all those complicated calculations, etc., to work out all these different sections. You don't have to do that anymore. The system physically does all these calculations for you, so you don't have to worry about doing any of the calculations. The system works them all out. As long as you put the correct variable and fixed remuneration into the system, the algorithms do the rest of the work and literally work out all the calculations for you.
Okay, this is where the department wants to see on fixed and variable remuneration, the person in top management earning the highest, as well as senior management, as well as middle management, as well as junior management, as well as semi-skilled. And then on unskilled, the one person earning the lowest in each occupational level, race, and gender. Again, ladies and gents, please, it depends on you. What data you input will be the answers that the system and your online portal will spit out in the EEA4. It's imperative to please take your time, work through it, ensure fixed and variable for the entire 12 months and or annualized is put in before we can generate a successful and valid and accurate EEA4. That being said as well, we've sat with the Department of Employment and Labour and Directorate. And due to COVID-19, if you maybe had downtime or an employee that maybe didn't come to work for 3 months, whatsoever the case may be, you need to input the fixed and variable as if COVID never happened. So let's assume Barry did not work at ECMS for 3 months within our snapshot time frame. We will still need to input the the remuneration between fixed and variable that he would have received if it was not for COVID. Okay, that bearing in mind, of course, you will see on your online portal, whatsoever employee is not employed as at your snapshot date, the online portal will not request the remuneration for that employee, because you only need to give the remuneration of the employees that were employed as at your snapshot date. Okay, you can proceed here with the average annual top 10, etc., etc.
So as you can see as well, sorry, yeah, go for it.
Oh, sorry, no, I think you might be talking about that. I'm just looking at that one you've highlighted about the policy, right? Do we have a policy in place to address and close the vertical
Yes,
gap?
that's the vertical gap policy I was referring to earlier, yes. So every year, the system will generate a new vertical gap policy with your new vertical gap in it. So you don't need to worry about that. It gets drafted by the system already. So
No, in other
obviously
words,
yeah, go for it.
What we found here, and even last year, for all our clients, we said, yes, you do have a vertical gap policy, and yes, affirmative action measures to address the remuneration is included in your plan, etc., etc. Reason being, I thought that the department will red flag companies, saying, but why don't you have a vertical gap policy between the highest and lowest paid earner, and why are you not closing that vertical gap? So it actually determines your vertical gap. And if you can maybe close this document, just so that we can show Lee as well as the other people here. There's a vertical gap policy there. So once we have generated your EEA2 and your EEA4 report, you will have the 2020 vertical gap policy with your logo and everything on there as well. Okay, and then to the far bottom, it will elaborate on what the vertical gap between the highest and lowest paid earner is, and of course how you will close the vertical gap. So you can see there, it's 120 times more. If you scroll up a little bit, there we go. So you see, give a gap analysis for 2019, submissions, it's 120. Of course, 2020, you will have a new vertical gap for 2020 with a lesser than 120 vertical gap, hopefully. Does that answer your question, Lee?
It does, thank you. And then just to confirm, the vertical gap you said was 10 times, right? The sort of average acceptable is in the last meeting, is that right?
Yeah, look, remember one thing, that's hearsay. That is what we were told when we attended to the roadshows in Cape Town last year. Look, we were also told they actually want to see a vertical gap of 1, meaning your highest earner must earn exactly the same as your lowest paid earner. But of course, that's ridiculous to say in that regard. So, but yes, the department inspectors did mention a vertical gap of 10 times. In other words, the highest earner earns 10 times more than the lowest. They would see that as being acceptable.
Thank you.
Barry, I think you basically went through everything that was supposed to have been said.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm going to stop sharing now. So then if there's any questions, then they're welcome to ask.
Colleagues, any questions, please remember, your main user has to log into your online portal, update that remuneration. We're going to start with Q4 meetings. Look, we have more than 300 companies that we need to submit. So please, when we schedule a meeting, I do believe Barry most probably will send you an email. Please ensure that you keep to the allocated time. Okay, because otherwise we will have back-to-back meetings from basically 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock each and every evening. So please ensure that you update your portal. If you have employees that's marked in red, export it to Excel, mail it to me, mail it to Barry, that we can discuss that with the developing team, that we can ensure that when that meeting happens, your EEA2 and EEA4 needs to be finalized so that it can be signed off so that we can submit in time. Our timing constraint, we would love to submit all our clients' EE reports before the 15th of December. Okay, there's about 3 or 4 companies, Barry, that I've seen that snapshot is only end of December 2020. So of course, with those companies, we will only be able to do your EEA4 meeting within the first week of January 2021, because you need to first basically get to your snapshot date before we can do your EEA2 and EEA4 report. So please, again, I beg of everyone, Before we do that meeting, please ensure that you have updated all your remuneration. We will, throughout the facilitation, go through with the rest pertaining with who did you sit with and what's the vertical gap and etc. etc. Okay, but you will have to update each and every employee's remuneration between fixed and variable and or annualized if that person has not been there for the entire 12 months. Any questions from anyone?
Yes, sorry, I raised my hand. It's me again. So I just wanted to ask this question. In terms of the vertical gap, let's assume that you do the maths and whatever and your algorithms and stuff, and the vertical gap is greater than 9 or 10 or 11 or whatever. But the reason for that is because it just so happens that the lowest paid employee, for example, has had very poor performance reviews. And so when you have performance-based increases, they've been awarded lower increases than other folk in the organization and or probably the CEO as well. And so that has widened the gap. Would that be a good enough reason for the department regarding why there is such a gap that, and therefore that they would then accept that?
Acceptable, yes. Like Barry mentioned, we would most probably say performance, quantity and quality of work, because you will have your performance appraisals most probably in place. However, that being said, how do you close the vertical gap? Okay, a lot of people think it's rand-wise, money-wise, fixed and variable remuneration. Okay, if you're strictly thinking as follows, let's assume that your lowest paid employee received a higher percentage increase than your highest paid employee, then you are closing the vertical gap. Let me give you an example. Lowest paid employee, we say, earns 36,000 Rand per annum. The highest paid earns R1 million per annum. Okay. The percentage increase for the lowest paid is, let's say, 6%, and the highest paid is 5%. You see, you are closing the vertical gap.
Okay, and I get that. Let's just say the lowest paid employee just happens to be slothful. Sort of the work performance is not good, etc. And obviously there's disciplinary action that goes on and all that, but that it just so happens that that person is never sort of the sort of hard worker. It just so happens that way. Then how does one handle that? Because performance-based increases is, for example, the way we work, and we because of our organization are establish sort of an average increase across the organization, and then there's an algorithm that works out if you're the best performer in the team, you get a larger, obviously, to make that average within the team. So you might find that that lowest paid is receiving lower increases on purposefully because they are non-performers compared to and relative to the rest of the team.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Then one will need to elaborate the reasons pertaining to that. And of course, you will have to have your evidence and corroborative evidence should such a query ever be inquired by the Department of Employment and Labour inspectors. Okay, because of course, if you give your lowest paid earner a lower increase than your highest paid earner, then you're not closing the vertical gap. And that the department will see with each and every submission. So in other words, if the demo company had a vertical gap of 120 last year and a vertical gap of 125 this year, the department could ask, but listen, why you're not really closing the vertical gap? But then of course, if you look at your vertical gap policy, you are elaborating on that policy that remuneration was considered due to the following: performance, levels of management, etc., etc., etc. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Happy with that. Thanks, Lee. I see that you're happy with that. Any other question? We have the head of the developing team in the meeting as well. Maybe any question pertaining to algorithms and or binary codes, 1 and 0, 1 and 0, or anything that you'd like to address to the head of the developing team?
Peter, Tommy here.
Hi, Tommy.
Is there no way they can the figures can be electronically uploaded? Do we have to put it in by hand, or can we prepare Excel spreadsheet and send it to your back office to be uploaded.
Diewald, you can maybe answer that one first, please.
Hello, Tommy. Unfortunately, that is not possible. The main reason for this is since the only upload there is on the system is the Excel spreadsheet for the employees, right? What we found is that from all the clients that we have and all of the employee lists that have been uploaded, there was only 2 clients that never made any data amendments after actually uploading the employee sheet and then starting with the plan, or generated reports on that. So the thing that we're looking at here is, should we upload a sheet on it, on the existing data, and should the data be wrong on that sheet? Okay, of course it's simple to revert, but then you're looking at this from a list view, and actually finding the problem can turn out to be way more difficult than just adding them, I want to say manually, and let the system regulate the data from there.
Okay, Tommy. So in other words, and we had that question on numerous occasions. I mean, we even had questions requesting, yeah, but can the online portal not maybe talk to Sage? And can our online portal not maybe talk to the Department of Employment and Labour? No, you know what? The problem is the validity of data becomes lost due to various different algorithms from one system to the next. And again, you export your Excel sheet, you make those changes, you import it again. The chance, as Diewald has mentioned, in just about 300 companies, we had in the past year and a half, only 2 companies that didn't mess up the Excel sheet. So we literally manually had to look at the algorithms pertaining to where did companies go wrong before we can finalize the setup. Once we do that handover, unfortunately, everything is then done online onto your online portal. Okay. Other reason for that was we've noted that clients go and they say, no, I want to update my information once per year or once a month. You cannot do that. Believe you me, we are currently busy with more than 10 DC reviews. The question from the department is, did you consider your priorities pertaining to EAP underrepresented race and genders, yes or no? If not, why not? So strictly speaking, each and every time you have an employee leaving your company, you are supposed to terminate that employee, go back to your EAP calculator and analysis and EAP worksheet and say, where is my priority now? And you cannot do that once a month. You cannot do it once a year. It must be done each and every time before you promote, recruit, or terminate. Tommy, I hope that answers your question there. Any further questions from anyone? Colleagues, if you have a question, if you don't want to unmute yourself, feel free to type it into the chat room. We are there for you. Any further questions? I don't want to close off the meeting and then maybe you have a question. Elena, it seems to me that we are then okay with this meeting. Are you happy on your side, Elena?
I'm happy on my side, thank you.
Barry, are you happy on your side?
Yep, 100%. Thanks, Peter.
Diewald, thanks a lot for your time as well. Colleagues, if there's no further questions, then I'm going to end this meeting. You will receive a meeting request from one of our consultants soon. You will also receive the relevant documents pertaining to Q4 meeting that I will mail either today, tomorrow, or very early next week. Okay, so from our side, thank you very much, everyone. Banner, Michelle, Catherine, everyone, thanks a lot. Lizelle, Tommy, thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, julle work.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Bye, have a good one.
EECMS is introducing the first virtual employment equity compliance solution by taking your consultant online. Clients are no longer required to conduct face-to-face meetings with our consultants. Our virtual solution will allow clients from around the globe to interact, consult, and train with their respective consultants from the comfort of their own desk. With our web-based compliance services, your employment equity solution submissions and consultations will stay compliant as per the requirements of the Act, no matter where you are based. No more traveling or boardroom bookings. We bring the service to your desktop. Conduct conference calls with remotely based colleagues and superiors during the consult. Share live documents or screens to all attendees and consultants for brainstorming or clarification sessions. Audio visually record meeting discussions between yourselves and the consultant for references and notes. Join the web-based consultancy services today and comply with your employment equity services from the comfort of your own desk. Speak to your consultant for more information or contact our information center for details on the services rendered. EECMS, your virtual employment equity compliance management service. EECMS utilizes an online tool to ensure full and total EE compliance as per the amended Act. We ensure that you are in full compliance with the Employment Equity Act. We do it all. You just need to connect with us as we aim to become your go-to guy. We meet and consult via our virtual solutions. We implement the Act, and you achieve compliance. Employers with over 50 employees. Agriculture over 6 million turnover, mining over 22.5 million turnover, manufacturing over 30 million turnover, electricity, gas and water over 30 million turnover, construction over 15 million turnover, retail and motor over 45 million turnover and more. Eliminate penalties. Increase a triple BEE score, forming a sense of belonging to employees, effective transformation, and promoting diversity. We submit the EEA2 and EEA4 reports on behalf of our clients, after approval thereof by the CEO or accounting officer. EECMS has a Level 4 broad-based Black Economic Empowerment rating. Our clients therefore qualify for 100% recognition when procuring from us. Our CEO has been involved in various marketing and communication entities. We have various EE specialists, including a compliance auditor with 3 years' experience at one of the Big 4 auditing firms. Our team has been involved in 62 DG reviews from 2017 to September 2019, with a 100% pass rate of companies not being referred to the Labour Court. Submissions of reports are done by a number of experienced data capturers, and we have a staff complement to ensure the successful submissions of all our clients. We currently serve more than 160 companies who employ anything between 6 to 12,500 employees. Our client base includes private companies, listed companies, close corporations, non-profit organizations, educational institutions, and government. Clients' annual turnover ranges from very little to more than 1 billion rand, and we have a client base throughout South Africa. EECMS, your virtual employment equity compliance management service.